Hey y'all, it's Mamaw, and I'm still off the porch, but we're going to have us a little talk today. So I got this is a kind of a surprise live, but it's going to take more time than the quick 3 minute drop usually to discuss this. I've had a lot of people asking why this Supreme Court hearing was important. So the wonky heads on TV sometimes makes it a whole lot harder than what it is. So, whipping out the handy dandy Constitution again, we're going to discuss why this matters. And I want you to be able to have the tools to argue with your MAGA friends or with people who watch too much Fox noise. This dispute over Trump's sweeping tariffs marks the first time in which the Supreme Court has weighed in on the legal merits of one of the president's policies, his signature policy. The arguments spanned over 3 hours with the justices asking probing questions. And these were the justices that old Taco appointed, so he is not on good solid ground here. Um, Several justices noted that the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, which the president says he used to impose these tariffs, does not mention the word tariff and has never been used by a president to justify levies until now. The Trump administration has argued that the phrase to regulate importation in the law gives the president the authority to set taxes. But the arguments were, where's the emergency? Because there has to have been an emergency. And one of the justices, I believe it was Roberts, said, okay, what is our emergency against Sweden, who is actually imports more than they would ever export, and we levied 39% tariff on them? And the attorney had no answer. One of the arguments, rolling back the tariffs could be a boon to our economy, the stock market, and businesses, as tariffs have had the consequences of vendor disruption, higher prices to the customer, and layoffs. Remember, we're at 950,000 layoffs that we know of. Taco won't let them release any more numbers, so it could be about 1 million people have been laid off since the Taco took office 11 months ago. So keep that. So, the history of tariffs and the economy. During the 1920s, known as the Roaring Twenties, and it was very fitting that the Taco picked The Great Gatsby, which was about the disaster of the Roaring Twenties. He picked that time to have his party at Mar-a-Lago, where all the rich went while people are in lines trying to get food because he will not pay SNAP benefits. So, during that time, the economy was growing and the stock market was thriving. The Federal Reserve, however, decided to raise the discount rate, or what we call today the interest rate, charged to members of banks borrowing money. As a result of the Federal Reserve's policies, the money supply contracted. This meant there were less money in circulation, making it more difficult for Americans to attain credit, to either purchase or start or expand a business. This led to an economic decline that triggered the stock market crash in October of 1929 and caused more than 9,000 bank failures between 1929 and 1933. And that's why we now have an FDIC. Not only did President Herbert Hoover sign the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act into law, despite the objections from economists during an already fragile economic period, he also enacted the Revenue Act of 1932, which increased income taxes from 25% to 63%. Doesn't Taco sound a lot like Hoover, despite what real economists are telling him? He's got it in his little lizard brain, his dementia lizard brain, that he's got to go with these tariffs. He's also claiming he's made trillions of dollars, but can't prove it, can't show it, and won't say who's holding that money. It's actually about $430 billion that he's gotten from tariffs, which is the same amount that we refund people on their income taxes. So, we're not making this money on these tariffs. People can't afford it, they're not buying it. The man's totally demented, and we need a full accounting of where all this damn money's going that he's spending. So, what the Supreme Court's going to be relying on in our Constitution will be Article 1, which tells who's got what authorities and what powers. Section 7. All bills from raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives. Let me read that again. All bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. So right there, first sentence, Taco, not the president, the House of Representatives. So the other thing the Supreme Court's looking at is that Mikey Johnson thinks, oh, well, I didn't want to do that. Taco wanted to, so I gave him the authority. Mikey does not have the authority to usurp his own position within the Constitution and give it to someone else. They better get rid of old Mikey Johnson. That little twerp doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and he's a coward, and he's a feckless wonder, and he will not master his own caucus. So, Section 8 of Article 1. The Congress, let me say that again, the Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. Congress, not the president. Congress. The Congress can declare war, grant letters of marque, reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. Not the president, not Petey Pie Hegseth, the Congress. So there we are out there blowing up boats out unilaterally in the ocean. We don't know anything about it, no due process, and never took it through Congress. It is also the Congress whose responsibility is to raise and support armies, but no apportionment of money to that use shall be for longer term than 2 years. So the other thing we need to look at is how's Taco shuffling around money that has been allocated by Congress, who has the purse strings, to do all these other things that he's doing, like tearing down the East Wing. He took $1 billion from the defense budget to retrofit this gifted airplane. He's using money the way he wants to without going through Congress. In Section 9, which gets back to the people that are being taken by ICE and blown up by Petey Pie Hegseth, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless in the cases of rebellion or invasion the public safety may require it. There is no rebellion, people. None. There is no invasion. None. So he, on his own, he and Petey Pie Hegseth and Blondie Pambondi, the protector of pedophiles, have unilaterally decided we're just not going to have habeas corpus. You can't do that. It's in the Constitution. Oh, God. So, a writ requiring a person under arrest be brought before a judge or into a court, especially to secure the person's release unless lawful grounds are shown for their detention. That is habeas corpus. The legal right to apply for a habeas corpus writ. Europe was the first to introduce habeas corpus and a jury system. So that's what habeas corpus is. The right that is in our Constitution to have due process. No money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in the consequence of appropriations made by law, and a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. So, Taco, all this money you're blowing and moving around and taking from areas where it was duly allocated by Congress, that's also part of what the Supreme Court's looking at. You don't have a right to do that. It has to go through Congress. And Mikey Johnson can't say, oh, do what you want, Taco. We'll just sit this one out. That's not how this works. And that's what the Supreme Court justices, all of them, even the conservative ones, were trying to tell him. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, accept any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. So let's talk about that free damn airplane. That he has taken $1 billion out of the defense pockets, moved it over to retrofit this plane, and then Petey Pie Hegseth has already told him, oh, and when your term's over, we're going to give it to you. No, you're not. That belongs to the United States of America. That is not being done for the Taco. Ain't going to happen. And if you people don't start raising Cain about that, because he's done so much other things, that's kind of set off to the side. The fact that he would be gifted that, a flyable aircraft, those aircraft that are in other presidential libraries are aircraft that have been decommissioned and are no longer airworthy once they get there. He wants something he can fly around and put the big Trump on it. No, ain't going to happen under the emoluments clause out of the Constitution. So that is what's going on with the Supreme Court. I think they have finally had enough. They can't justify covering his orange butt anymore. And that is why they are having these hearings. And it's important. And Mikey Johnson needs to get his little measly ass back to work. He needs to swear in the congresswoman who is supposed to be representing over 800,000 people. They're now not getting representation, although they're being taxed by the federal government because Mikey Johnson won't do his job. And how do you end a government shutdown if Mikey Johnson is not in session for them to negotiate and won't do his job? And for those Republicans who he has sent home, they're hiding out everywhere. They are not holding office hours. They are not working. And while air traffic controllers don't have the money to get gasoline to go to work without pay, your congressmen are being paid. And that should really make you angry too. So that's what Mamaw had to hop on here for. I know it's wonky, I know it's long, and I know it's boring. But this information is important, and y'all said you wanted me to explain it to you. So I explained it to you the best that I could. I hoped it helped. So real quick, the people that did hop on, good morning, Terry Davis from Texas. Whoa, that didn't go well. And I got Linda from Texas. There, you two ought to get to know each other. Old Bernie Marino is a boof. So Terry's in Texas. Brenda Bell from Virginia. Oh, you guys did good the other night. Good morning, Linda from Alliance, Ohio. Cheryl from Massachusetts. Thank you. Hope you share my information. Good morning, Rudy. Theta, good morning from Vegas. Man, you're up. Either you're up early or you ain't been to bed yet. Deborah Yates. Oh, yeah, he's an idiot. There's no coal mining coming back. Yes, one thing I will say, Ann Drummond said crooks times 1,000. He's running his whole administration like a mafia mob boss with his underlings. This ain't the mafia. You can't just do with money what you want. You can't start a protection racket, and pay to play is going to stop. It is going to stop. And even Steve Bannon said if they lose the midterms, a bunch of them, including himself, are going to jail. Yeah, you got that right, Stevie. You don't have presidential immunity. Kevin from Tennessee and those pardons. Well, the Congress can limit his pardon power. And I see that might just be down the pipeline if we flip that Congress. Elsie from Ohio. Hello, Elsie. Rochester, New York. Hey, Laurel. Good morning. Thank you for the reminders. Good morning, Linda from Arizona. And dadgummit, we got to swear your congresswoman in. Good morning, Diane from Texas. Jerry from Florida. Good morning. GM from Philly, Philadelphia. Okay, got another Pauline from Nevada, Michigan. Another Arizonan. Boy, you guys are really ticked off about your congresswoman, and I don't blame you. Melanie from Maryland. Love you too. Well, here's the problem. Well, Brenda wants to know, why don't all the talking lawyers on media go against Taco in a class action? They have. It's really expensive, and y'all got to remember, the Supreme Court picks and chooses the cases they're going to hear. So the fact that they heard this one is a big plus. It always kind of rankled my rear that the Taco had a rocket ship to get on their docket, and other cases languish for years to try to get on the docket, and then they just pick and choose what they're going to hear. So this means this really is important, and we got to get this straightened out. My problem is God love them, you get the talking head attorneys on TV, and most of them, not all of them, there's some of them that are really good at explaining. Joyce Vance comes to mind. I just love her on MSNBC. They talk like they're talking to other attorneys and not to us, so that we understand what the fight's about and why it's important. And so I'm just trying to digest it down in the best my little pea-brain Mamaw way can, so that you all understand why it's important. Good morning, Joan from North Carolina. Okay, well, I'm going to hop off of here. Didn't mean to do an unannounced, but this was going to be too long to do it on a post, but it's important. So maybe I'll start a new thing called Long, Boring, but Important Information. Love y'all. Stay salty now. It's all right to be salty. Someone asked me what salty meant. Well, it's a dash of pissed off, it's a dash of knowledge, and it's a fistful of fight. That's what being salty is. So stay salty, and by golly, using our outside voices is starting to pay off. Keep it up. Bye-bye.